Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live webinar or advanced training. This is going to cover nutrition, especially for pregnancy. So, welcome. My name is Dr. Brandon from Elite Family Chiropractic, and we'll give a few minutes to allow everyone to kind of hop on here, but to kind of go over what we're going to be covering in this advanced training is we're going to be having a deep dive into a lot of vitamins and minerals that are crucial for pregnancy. We're going to be going over why it's crucial, and then also some forms, especially in supplements that you want that particular vitamin or mineral to be in to make sure that you're getting the most impact out of that vitamin or mineral. We're going to be diving into the epigenetics. We're going to be talking about what we call like the big three here, which is sugar cravings, salt and swelling, cravings, and then also heartburn as well. And we're going to be giving you some tools and some tips to help combat that as well. So before we get started, I'm going to give a couple more minutes for a couple people to get on here. There we go. Okay, so before we get started, if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you are not watching this live and watching this at a later date, if you have any questions, make sure that you still comment with them, and we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible with some answers. So to first begin, I know there's a lot of fads. I know there's a lot of different information. We're pretty much bombarded with information on what's good, what's bad, going keto versus plant-based. There's a whole bunch of information always thrown at you, and it's kind of hard to sort through all of this information, especially when it comes to nutrition. But the biggest thing that I think, and just to kind of simplify everything, is making it easy. So when it comes down to it, we pretty much all know what's healthy for us and what's unhealthy for us. It's in breaking it down, it's pretty much binary. So is what you're putting inside your body helping you, or is it hurting you? So think of it like this. It's either a positive or a negative. So every single food that you eat, every single drink that you take in, is it helping you create health and wellness, or is it setting your body up to help create disease? So overall, when it comes to what you consume and what you feed yourself in your body, is you want to make sure to put a lot of emphasis overall on fruits and vegetables, and you want to make sure that you're getting a lot of low inflammatory or anti-inflammatory foods versus unnatural, processed, high inflammatory foods. So I'm sure you've heard this saying before, is that the root cause of all disease is two biggest factors is stress and how well we adapt to it, and then also inflammation. So we always want to make sure that we're feeding our bodies low inflammatory or anti-inflammatory food to feed more health and wellness. To kind of dive into the next, sorry about that. To feed into the next topic here is we're going to be talking about a concept called epigenetics. So I know some of you have heard about what epigenetics is before, or if this is a new term for you, we're going to kind of dive into this. I think this is a very important topic. especially more so for pregnancy, because um, we are so familiar or kind of entrained or indoctrined into this old school way of thinking that, my mom or dad or my grandpa had um, this condition, so therefore I'm going to get this condition. And, you're born with this set of genes, so therefore you're going to get condition X, Y, and Z. And what a lot of the research is showing, actually, that's not the case. So your genes do not determine your destiny. Now, now obviously for some genetic disorders, that is absolutely true. But when it comes to more of the chronic illnesses, especially like heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, that a lot of research is showing that's just not the case. So to really kind of dive into this, is you have your genes, and obviously genes are important, but what a lot of research is showing is that your genes don't dictate your destiny. So it's how those genes are expressed is what's most important. So if you want to really dive in this to yourself, dive into this yourself, a book that I highly recommend is Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And he kind of is the guy who kind of spearheaded a lot of the research of epigenetics. So he was a like stem cell biologist at Harvard, and he worked with stem cells. And through his research, he has shown that it's not the genes that is important, it is how those genes are expressed or how those genes interact with their external environment. So it goes to show that it's not what you're born with, but it's your lifestyle that has the biggest impact on how you're going to express health, or on the flip side of that, disease. So what you're taking into your body, how you manage your stress, um, lifestyle, and diet plays a huge role in your health, but then also baby's health. And there's tons and tons of research out there, and this is kind of self-explanatory, but there's tons and tons of research out there that has shown that what you're doing to your body right now, especially when you're pregnant, and what you're taking in can have lasting effects on the baby for years to come. So I it just goes to show that you have more control of your body than in your health, in your baby's health, than what you think you do. And that leads to this next slide here. So had to put Spider-Man in here because who doesn't love Spider-Man? One, I put it in here because it's my son's favorite superhero at the moment, at least. But I really love the quote out of the very first Superman, Tobey Maguire, with great power comes great responsibility. So what the term of and the research behind epigenetics is, you as a pregnant mom, you have this power and you have this great responsibility to take control of your health and take control of your diet, your lifestyle, and your fitness to help set you and baby up for success. And I want to put a lot of emphasis on this because I don't want to scare you into eating healthy, but more importantly, I want to empower you to really take control of you and your baby's destiny, especially when it comes to expressing more health. So before we start diving into the rest, I want to get into one of the biggest things when it comes to nutrition, especially when you're going to be adding in more fruits and vegetables into your diet. So overarching rule is fresh is best. So couple of the biggest things that if you go to your local supermarket like Walmart or Target, and if you're buying fruits and vegetables from there, there's a couple different kind of drawbacks. from buying fruits and vegetables from a local supermarket like that. So a couple different things is that those fruits and vegetables have a very unhealthy and very unnatural shelf life. There are also poor sources of vitamins and minerals compared to more of your organic or fresh fruits and vegetables. And the biggest thing is I know we talked about this before in past previous trainings, but they are very much sprayed with a lot of pesticides and hormones, and then also chemicals that have a huge impact on your hormonal balance. So, especially when it comes to pregnancy, the biggest thing is making sure you're keeping your hormones in check. And then with a lot of these pesticides, chemicals, and hormones that are added to a lot of the fruits and vegetables nowadays, they can really throw that off. So making sure that you're buying fresh fruit and vegetables and then also organic vegetables is one way that you can kind of feed more of those positives and more of that the health side of the aspect when it comes to your wellness. So I know it's not always feasible for a lot of families, especially larger families, to buy everything organic, everything fresh, because it's definitely going to increase your grocery bill for sure. But if you had to kind of pick and choose which ones to buy organic, here's a great list of some fruits and vegetables to buy organic. On the left here, you see a whole list. And what a lot of research has shown is that these fruits and vegetables are the most sprayed with a lot of the chemicals and pesticides. So if possible, if you had to put a lot of emphasis on what to buy organic or what not to buy organic, the ones on the left, you want to make sure to put a little bit more emphasis on buying some of these things organic. Compared to the right-hand side, that these are fruits and vegetables that are a little bit more safer and less sprayed with the pesticides and chemicals that can be harmful for you and baby. So these ones are a little bit more safe to buy a little bit more conventionally grown. So that is probably the biggest role, overarching role, especially when you're going to be adding in more healthier lifestyle foods such as fruits and vegetables. And kind of going back to that balance in the term of epigenetics is, you know, if you are eating tons of fruits and vegetables, that is awesome. And you're adding a lot more positives and you're fighting disease and you're adding more health into your life. But if you are eating a lot of food, and especially fruits and vegetables that is sprayed with a bunch of pesticides, chemicals, and hormones, you might be balancing out that effect because with your body, especially at a sensitive time, especially with pregnancy, if you're adding in some of those pesticides, you're going to be feeding a lot of the negative and a lot of the disease side of your wellness as well. So, like I said, you really want to make sure as much as possible to try to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, and then pick from that list a lot of the fruits and vegetables that are organic, that is less sprayed with some of those chemicals. Okay, next we're going to get into kind of what we call the big three. So with a lot of the pregos here that we take care of here, we hear a lot about sugar cravings, salt cravings, that also comes with swelling, and then also heartburn. So first and foremost, sugar cravings is a double-edged sword, because I know as you go through pregnancy, you have certain cravings, and sometimes you just have to have that particular food. But when it comes to sugar, it is super high inflammatory to the body. So you always want to make sure that you're keeping your sugar intake in check. A couple different things to help offset this, the sugar cravings, is making sure that you're having an adequate amount of protein. So for most people, especially for pregos, you want to try to shoot for around 60 grams of protein per day. And what this is going to do is, with a good amount of protein, you're going to be feeling a lot fuller for longer. And you're not going to have a huge spike and dip in those blood sugar levels. Because when you go into those dips, that is when you are craving a lot of that sugar. So making sure that you're eating tons and tons of protein to make sure that you have a stable blood sugar is key. Um, and I know a lot of people think meat when it comes to protein, but you don't always have to eat meat to get a good amount of protein. So this can be in the form of beans or legumes, or also nuts as well. Um, Another thing that you also see here is to help with sugar cravings, making sure that your vitamin E levels are where they need to be. And then also chromium picolinate is something that you might want to supplement with. So chromium has a essential function in the pancreas. And then when everyone thinks pancreas, it's pretty much the organ that is in charge of stabilizing blood sugar. So making sure that your body has adequate amounts of chromium is important when it comes to making sure that those blood sugars stay level, so that your pancreas can work the way that it's supposed to. A couple different things with chromium picolinate. So you want to make sure that it's in the form of chromium picolinate, because when it's in this form, the body is better able to absorb it. So you're getting a lot more out of that supplement, versus if chromium is in a different form. So next is swelling and salt cravings. So when the fluid and salt balance is out of whack, your body can produce more swelling and retain more fluids to help offset an increase in salt intake. So I put Salt Bay meme in here because what I hear from a lot of people when they're watching their salt intake is, all right, I'm going to try to decrease the amount of salt that I am putting in my food from the salt shaker. And what I have found is that that's not really the culprit when it comes to some of salt cravings or challenges. So if you look at any type of unnatural processed foods, especially ones that have a long shelf life, you're going to be seeing a lot of salt in fast foods and processed foods. So the main culprit is more the food that you're taking in and the drinks that you're taking in, rather than what's coming out of the salt shaker. Um, so making sure that you're, you know, keeping a focus on a decrease in your fast foods and processed foods will help with some of the salt cravings and also challenges. A couple different foods that you can add into your diet to help resolve some of this water tension and swelling is making sure you're getting tons of cucumber and watermelon. And then also another solution is tissue salt. So such things as sodium chloride can help with that fluid balance as well. Okay. So I know with heartburn, this is a huge challenge for a lot of our moms here. Obviously, with a baby growing inside, you have less room within your abdomen, which pushes up on the stomach. So stomach gets smaller, which creates some of this reflux, GERD, or heartburn for a lot of moms. But here we have a few quick and easy, simple tools that you can add into your daily routine to help offset some of this heartburn. So ginger tea is one of my favorites that I like to recommend. Apple cider vinegar diluted is another option for a lot of people, and it works great. And then a quick and easy, simple thing to do is going for a light walk to help promote and improve digestion and get things kind of moving along. So those three are one of my biggest and quickest and easiest tips that you can do while eating or after eating. Next, we're going to be diving into a lot of the vitamins and minerals. And we're going to be diving into why they're important, um, and then also a lot of the natural resources or natural sources that you can eat to make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of these vitamins and minerals in. And then also talking about a little bit about supplementation and the forms that they come in. So the first one, which gets a lot of awareness, especially when it comes to pregnancy, is vitamin B9, which is folic acid or folate. So when it comes to folic acid, it's crucial for carrying DNA and RNA to help promote proper cell formation. And deficiencies in this are linked with birth defects, miscarriages, and premature births. So when you're thinking about proper cell division, and you're thinking about two cells coming together and rapidly proliferating to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 64, and then making millions and billions of cells after that. With that rapid replication, you want to make sure that you have a good amount of folic acid to make sure that you're getting healthy formation of those cells. So, a couple different resources that you can eat is leafy green vegetables, avocados, which also has a lot of great fat in avocados as well, and then also raw or lightly steamed vegetables. So I put raw or lightly steamed vegetables in there because you want to make sure to not overcook a lot of the vegetables, because when you start to add a lot of heat or overcook a lot of vegetables, you're going to start to diminish a lot of the vitamins and mineral content in the vegetables. So you want to make sure that they're raw or lightly steamed. And then lastly here, you see here that folic acid versus folate in a question mark. So the reason why I put that is I know there's a lot of controversy on a lot of the evidence out there when it comes to folic acid versus folate. And then especially when it comes to the genetic mutation at the MTHFR gene. So if you have a history of this genetic mutation at this gene, it might be a good idea to supplement in your prenatal folate versus folic acid. So what that gene is, that MTHFR gene, it is a gene that helps break down folic acid and folate. So if you have a genetic mutation at this gene, it has been shown to interrupt with the process and the pathways to help break down folic acid. And what a lot of research is maybe showing is that if you have a buildup of this folic acid, and if you're not able to readily break down folic acid and folate, that it may lead to some challenges later on down the road for you and baby. So if you have a history of this, or if you know that you have this genetic mutation at the MTHFR gene, it might be a better idea to, when you look at vitamin B9 on your prenatal, to make sure it's in the form of folate rather than folic acid. Another vitamin and mineral that gets a lot of awareness is making sure that you have a adequate amount of iron. So iron is crucial for hemoglobin, which helps form a lot of fetal blood, plays a big role in overall just blood in general. Deficiencies with this are linked to miscarriages and anemia. Some sources for this is dark leafy vegetables, of course. What a lot of pregos like to drink, and I know a lot of holistic providers really recommend, is red raspberry leaf tea. So especially getting on towards the later end stages of pregnancy, this has been shown to have a lot of great benefits. So a lot of moms to be will actually drink 2 to 3 cups of this per day towards the end of the pregnancy. Another great source of this is spirulina. This is packed with iron and then also a lot of great vegetable or vitamins and minerals. So this is a quick and easy source for a lot of iron and crucial vitamins and minerals as well. A couple different things here. So you want to beware of inorganic iron. So inorganic iron has been shown to promote or cause constipation or diarrhea, and it actually depletes zinc and vitamin E levels. So you want to make sure that you're getting your iron in organic form. And then also you see here chelated iron. So what chelated iron is, it's iron that is bound to a protein that allows it to pass the intestinal wall and readily get into the blood to increase absorption. So in order to get the adequate amount of iron that you need, you want to make sure that it's organic and then also chelated as well. And on the left-hand side here, you see two things that you might be dealing with. So for a lot of people in general, but especially pregos, they'll have the want and need to chew ice chips. So the thought behind this and what it might be indicative of is that your iron levels are low. So when iron levels are low, it creates a term called glossitis, which is inflammation of the tongue. So iron levels are low, inflammation of the tongue, you might have a subconscious need or want to chew ice chips to decrease that inflammation of the tongue. So if you notice that you're a person that does this a lot, especially a prego who has the craving for this, you might want to check iron levels because that might be the culprit of why you want to do this so much. Also, restless legs and then also cramps in the legs is another symptom or indicative of low iron levels. So you want to make sure iron levels are good for this, magnesium and calcium. You might want to increase your uptake of if you have restless leg as well. Okay. Vitamin B12. So this one is important for proper neural development and then also to prevent neurotube defects. So if you ever heard of the term spina bifida, it is an incorrect closure of the spinal column and spinal dura and cord as well. So you with this, you want to make sure you have enough vitamin B12 to help promote proper formation of the spinal cord and also the spine as well. And as you can see here on the right-hand side, a couple different natural resources is animal protein, yogurt, mushrooms, and sprouts is packed with a lot of vitamin B12 as well. Okay. And then with vitamin C, this one kind of going back to iron, you want to make sure you have adequate amounts of vitamin C to help with iron absorption. It's important for bone and teeth formation, protects against hemorrhage and preeclampsia, and then also deficiencies of this have been shown to have premature rupture of the membrane. So with the role that vitamin C has in our collagen formation, you want to make sure that you have a good amount of this to help prevent a lot of these problems here on the left. So a couple different natural resources for this is tomatoes, broccoli is packed with vitamin C, and then some of your orange, red, and yellow fruits. So a couple different things to watch out for with vitamin C is you want to make sure that you're not overloading your body with a lot of high sugar fruits. So sometimes you can have some of those, but you want to make sure that you want to try to add in more tomatoes and broccoli that are a little less on the glycemic index and not overloading your body with those spikes and crashes of sugar. Unless kiwi is another great source for vitamin C as well. The last thing that I kind of want to dive into is calcium. So calcium is another crucial mineral, especially during pregnancy. But I know a lot of people think, when they think calcium, they think dairy, and they particularly think milk. And this has been a conversation that I had with a lot of parents here recently as well, in general. So this applies to when you're pregnant, and then also when you're not pregnant. So if you're not pregnant and if you're watching this, you could still get a lot of value out of this and learn something about dairy milk and how it can actually have a negative effect on your body. So a question that I kind of like to pose is, what's more important, dairy or calcium? So we want to make sure that we're getting our calcium from foods that is helping us fight disease rather than creating it. So calcium, diving into that, is crucial for bone and teeth formation. And it gets a lot of awareness when it comes to bones, but it's also important for heart function and then also nerve transmission as well. And especially in the last trimester, your calcium requirement increases by 66%. So you want to make sure that you have a good amount of calcium all throughout pregnancy, but especially in that last third trimester. A couple different sources for this, and healthier sources, I should say, for calcium is any fermented dairy products, such as yogurt, Swiss or cheddar cheese, kefir, and then also butter. And you'll see here that you'll see not cow's milk with question marks. And what we're going to be diving into in the next couple slides is why I would stay away from cow's milk, how it's inflammatory, and how it might not be the best option for you when it comes to providing your body with calcium. Some points to consider with dairy, but especially dairy milk, is preeclampsia has been associated with high dairy consumption, especially dairy milk consumption. And then also the process of pasteurization. So what pasteurization is, it's the process that milk goes through when it comes from the farm to the grocery store. So with that process, the thought process behind it is great, but it also has some drawbacks to it as well. So the thought process behind it is making sure that you are killing a lot of the bad bacteria that the milk has to create a healthier milk. But like I said, in the process of doing that, you're distorting the milk to a point where it has some side effects to dairy milk. So as you can see here, the process of pasteurization distorts proteins that we actually need in the milk. And when the proteins are distorted, our body takes it in as a foreign substance, which creates an inflammatory response within the body. So in the process of pasteurization, it destroys the bad bacteria, but it also destroys the good bacteria that helps us digest milk. And more importantly, it actually destroys a lot of beneficial enzymes that helps us break down milk as well, so that it isn't as inflammatory. Another thing is that heat encourages free radical damage. So pretty much what free radical damage is free radicals get into your cell and creates damage to the cell. So the heating of milk creates more of those free radicals. And as you can see here, as you heat stuff, same as vegetables, you're going to deplete the vitamin and mineral content of it. So the last point here on this slide is that if you've ever gotten to milk a cow and seen milk on a farm, you'll notice that the milk on the farm is nothing like the milk that ends up in the grocery store. So with pasteurized milk that you buy at the grocery store, it has added chemicals to help suppress that natural odor of milk and then also to improve taste. So again, with any type, especially when during pregnancy, you want to make sure your hormonal balance is in check. So any type of chemicals that might alter that, you want to stay away from. So a couple other things when it comes to dairy milk is that it's fortified or added with a lot of synthetic vitamins. So a lot of these synthetic vitamins can actually be stressful or inflammatory to your body. And then milk, especially dairy milk, has a protein in it called casein. And what this protein does is that it actually binds and competes with calcium. So if you want a lot of calcium, casein actually binds to that so that we don't get a lot of calcium absorbed within our body. And a couple other things, especially when it comes to that protein casein, is that it is very aggravating to our immune system and it's mucus producing. So what we see time and time again here in the office is that when a baby is transitioning from breast milk or formula into more dairy or / cow's milk, is that when that cow's milk is introduced, the baby has more sinus infections, more ear infections, and pretty much has a lot more colds and flus. So one thing to eliminate out of the baby's diet, but overall just in general, everyone's diet, is dairy milk to help decrease this amount of casein that isn't as aggravating to our immune system or isn't as inflammatory to our body. Next point we kind of chatted about with the introduction of cow's milk too early in a baby's life is that it triggers this inflammation process within our body, and it's actually been shown to increase the chances of juvenile diabetes, asthma, and eczema. So a lot of these chronic health issues that a lot of kids deal with. A high percentage of adults are unable to actually digest lactose. So going back to the process of pasteurization, the enzyme that helps break down lactose is lactase. So with the process of pasteurization, it actually decreases that enzyme lactase so that our body isn't able to break lactose down efficiently. So we have a higher percentage of this enzyme when we're born, but as we get older, the levels start to decrease. So even though that you might not have dairy sensitivity, or if you might not notice like a huge response in your gut when it comes to dairy, it might even just have a subtle effect on you and your inflammation levels within the body. And then last but not least, is dairy products contain a trace amount of antibiotics, hormones, and pesticides. So going back to that point where antibiotics, hormones, and pesticides are hormonal disruptors. So they're going to throw your hormones all out of whack. And like I said, especially during pregnancy, you want to make sure that your nervous system and your hormonal system is nice and balanced to set yourself up for success with you and baby. So one of the biggest things that you can do is taking away dairy milk out of the equation, out of you and baby's diet. And there's a lot of great kind of alternatives to dairy milk that are actually been shown to have a lot more calcium and a lot more vitamins and minerals within it. One that I like that has kind of the same consistency as dairy milk is oat milk. There's almond milk, there's coconut milk, there's flaxseed milk. All of this has been shown to have a lot better of a response within the body, and it's been shown to be a lot more healthier than dairy milk. So the good news on the flip side of that is that all dairy isn't bad. So like I said, the process of pasteurization of milk from farm to grocery store is the thing that kind of makes milk quote unquote bad. But if that dairy is allowed to go through a fermentation process, there's a lot of great benefits that we can get out of dairy products. So here you see that yogurt, kefir, and butter is great dairy choices when it comes to creating more like a anti-inflammatory environment within your body. So with yogurt, it has a lot of great beneficial bacteria that helps establish that gut flora. The only thing with yogurt is that you want to make sure that you're getting yogurt that doesn't have added sugar. So those Go-Gurts, the Danimals, and all of those, they have a lot of added sugar that you have to be on the lookout for, because even though that you're eating yogurt, the sugar will have that inflammatory response on the body. So you want to make sure that you're getting yogurt that doesn't have added sugar. Another good thing with kefir, so this is kind of like, it tastes kind of like yogurt, but with kefir, it allows the dairy to kind of go through this whole entire process, which breaks down lactose. It has a lot of beneficial bacteria, a lot of those beneficial enzymes within it, so that it doesn't create a huge inflammatory or stimulating response in the immune system that actual dairy does. So kefir is a great alternative to add into your diet to have some of those more of those beneficial effects. And butter, not margarine, but butter is another good dairy product because it's loaded with vitamin A, and it also has a lot of fat soluble vitamins such as E, vitamin K, and D. And then, like I said, with the souring and fermentation process with dairy, as long as, if you find any other dairy products, as long as they go through that souring or fermentation process, that's what you're looking for the most, because it's a great natural process that it goes through that adds a lot of benefit into eating some of these foods. So these aren't just all the good foods when it comes to dairy. There's a lot more out there, but overarching theme is you want to make sure that those dairy products are going through that fermentation process. Okay. So to make this shorter and not an hour and a half long presentation, we're going to be splitting this up into 2 sections. So the Optimal Nutrition for Pregnancy Part 2 is going to happen on March 18th, and we're going to be diving into more vitamins and minerals. I'm going to be talking about pH balance, acid versus alkaline environments, and we're going to be diving into a lot more as far as nutrition. So that's going to be on March 18th, and it's going to be at the same time at 11 o'clock, and we'll be live here on Facebook and also on Zoom. So I'm going to open up the floor and see if we have any questions. Okay. All right, and that is it. So if you got a lot of value out of this, and if you learned something new, and if you can take something and apply it to your daily routine and your daily lifestyle today, make sure you give this a like and share, especially if you know a mom or soon to be mom. Make sure you share this with them. Our goal here is just to provide a lot of value to a lot of moms out there, just to make sure that their pregnancy is empowered, and making sure that we're setting them and baby up for success. So thank you for watching this, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.